Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Speak Up. This is Ryan, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. We've got a fascinating topic to dive into, the role of English in today's digital world. So if you've ever wondered why English dominates so many online spaces or how it connects billions of people across the globe, you're in the right place. English is no longer just a language for native speakers. It's the backbone of international communication, technology, business, and education, especially in the digital world. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clear understanding of why learning English is crucial for success in this globalized, online-driven era. Isn't that right, Priya?
Absolutely, Ryan. Hi, everyone. This is Priya, and I'm so glad you're tuning in today. English has become more than just a language. It's a tool, a bridge, and even a necessity in today's fast-paced digital world. Think about it. Whether it's social media, online education, or remote work, English is everywhere. And today, we're going to break it all down for you. We'll explore how English connects people on platforms like Instagram or LinkedIn, why it's so important for things like online business or learning new skills, and even how it powers industries like technology and content creation. So, if you're looking to boost your skills or just understand why English plays such a key role online, stay with us. You're going to get a ton of value from this discussion. Right, Ryan?
Exactly, Priya. And let's not forget, this isn't just about speaking English perfectly. It's about how English empowers you to connect, learn, and grow in the digital age. We're going to keep things super practical today. Whether you're someone looking to improve your communication skills or someone curious about how English impacts the online world, this episode is for you. So, grab your headphones, get comfortable, and let's jump right into our first segment. How English became the global language of the internet. Priya, ready to get started? Let's start by addressing one of the biggest reasons why English has become so important in the digital world. Did you know that English is considered the lingua franca of the internet? What that means is that it's the universal language people use to communicate, especially when they don't share a native language. In fact, English is currently the most widely used language online by a long shot. Over 60% of the internet's content is in English. Everything from blogs to news articles, scientific research, and even entertainment. That's huge when you consider how many languages exist in the world. Priya, what do you think contributes to this dominance?
Great question, Ryan. I think there are a few key reasons. First, it's historical. English became a dominant global language during the 20th century, thanks to countries like the United States and the UK, which were leading powers in business, education, and technology. When the internet started to grow in the 1990s, it was heavily shaped by English-speaking developers and companies. Think about it. Big tech players like Google, Microsoft, and Apple are based in English-speaking countries, so naturally the digital tools and platforms they created were in English. Second, there's accessibility. English is the second language for billions of people. Even if it's not their native tongue, it's the one language most people have in common. So, whether you're posting on Twitter or using Zoom for a meeting, English is often the default. Ryan, do you have any examples of this in action?
Absolutely, Priya. Let's look at websites. Research shows that about 60% of the top 10 million websites in the world are written in English. That means if you're browsing major news sites, shopping online, or even reading academic research, chances are you're interacting with English. Compare that to the next most used language online, Chinese, which accounts for just around 20% of internet content. It's a massive gap, and it's not just websites. Social media is a huge part of this too. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok all prioritize English for their global audiences. Even hashtags, which are used to connect content across borders, are overwhelmingly written in English. Priya, how do you see this affecting people around the world?
Well, Ryan, it's both an opportunity and a challenge. On one hand, the dominance of English gives people access to an incredible amount of information. Think about it. Someone in Brazil, India, or Japan can learn new skills, connect with international communities, or even start a global business simply by knowing English. But on the other hand, it can feel like a barrier for people who don't have strong English skills yet. For example, while billions of people use the internet daily, a significant percentage of them struggle to fully engage with English content. And here's an interesting statistic for our listeners. While only about 13% of the world's population speaks English as a first language, over 25% of the world's population interacts with English online. That means non-native speakers are the majority when it comes to using English on the internet. Pretty fascinating, right?
Definitely, Priya. And what's even more fascinating is how English has adapted to fit the digital world. Take slang and abbreviations like LOL, BRB, or even emojis. These are forms of communication that have grown from English and are now universal online. English in the digital age isn't just about formal grammar and vocabulary, it's also about adapting to new ways of connecting. For example, think about how search engines like Google work. The algorithms are built around English keywords, which means businesses worldwide often use English to optimize their websites for visibility. That's why terms like SEO, or search engine optimization, are global concepts that almost always involve English. Priya, how does this influence learning and education online?
It has a massive impact, Ryan. Online education platforms are a perfect example. The majority of e-learning resources, whether it's free platforms like YouTube or paid ones like Coursera or Udemy, offer courses primarily in English. This makes English the gateway to learning everything from coding to cooking. For instance, if someone wants to learn a new programming language like Python or JavaScript, most tutorials, forums, and documentation are in English. The same goes for accessing global news, scientific research, or even financial tools. And Ryan, let's not forget about English in professional certifications. Whether it's tech certifications like AWS or language tests like IELTS, they're all standardized in English. This shows how intertwined English is with both learning and career growth online.
That's a great point, Priya. It also explains why so many governments and schools around the world are prioritizing English education. They recognize that English isn't just a subject in school, it's a skill for global connectivity. And it's not just about formal education either. Millions of people are learning English informally through apps like Duolingo, or watching English content on Netflix, YouTube, and TikTok. These platforms make it easier to practice English in real-life scenarios. Here's another stat for our listeners. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, after Google, and over 70% of its content is in English. So, if someone wants to learn how to fix a car, cook a new dish, or even study advanced science topics, they're likely doing it through English. It's pretty incredible how much the digital age has amplified the role of this one language. Priya, what's your take on this?
You're absolutely right, Ryan. And what's so interesting is that English has become a tool for global collaboration. For example, in the gaming industry, which is huge in the digital world, players from different countries use English to communicate during online matches. The same goes for international projects in fields like science or technology. Teams from different countries work together and use English as their common language. And as you mentioned earlier, even on social media, English dominates. People use English hashtags like #numberlove, #numbertravel, and #numbersuccess to make their posts more visible to global audiences. This shows that English isn't just a language, it's a way to connect with the world. And as we move further into this digital age, its importance will only continue to grow.
Absolutely, Priya. To wrap up this segment, it's clear that English isn't just a tool for communication, it's the backbone of how we navigate the digital world. From websites and social media to online education and global business, English is everywhere. For anyone tuning in, improving your English isn't just about mastering a language, it's about unlocking opportunities. It gives you access to global knowledge, helps you build international connections, and can propel your career forward in the digital age. Now, let's dive into one of the most exciting aspects of English in the digital world: how it connects people globally, especially on social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Social media has revolutionized how we interact, breaking down barriers and bringing people together. At the center of this global interaction is English. Whether it's a trending tweet or a viral TikTok, English often serves as the bridge between cultures and countries. What's your take on this, Priya?
You're spot on, Ryan. Social media is probably the best example of how English functions as a universal connector. Think about it. Platforms like Instagram or Twitter are used by billions of people from every corner of the globe, and most of the time, they're communicating in English. It might not always be perfect English, but it's enough to create a shared understanding. This is especially true when it comes to trends. Whether it's a viral dance challenge or an important hashtag, English is often the language that sets the tone. For instance, movements like Black Lives Matter, Me Too, or even fun trends like Throwback Thursday started in English and spread worldwide. These hashtags allow people from different countries to join the same conversation, regardless of where they're from. What do you think, Ryan? Why is English so central to this?
That's a great point, Priya. I think it comes down to reach and accessibility. English has become the default language for global communication because it's widely understood, even by non-native speakers. For example, if someone in Germany wants to share their ideas with someone in Japan on LinkedIn, they're likely to write their post in English. It's the easiest way to ensure their message is understood by the widest audience possible, and this isn't just limited to professionals. On Twitter, for instance, many celebrities, world leaders, and influencers post in English, even if it's not their first language, because they know their audience is global. Here's a fun stat for our listeners. Over 330 million people use Twitter every month, and the majority of tweets that go viral are written in English. This shows how powerful the language is for creating connections across borders. Priya, do you think this also helps bridge cultural gaps?
Absolutely, Ryan. Social media in English is one of the most powerful tools for cultural exchange. When people from different countries use English to share their traditions, stories, and ideas, it creates a sense of global community. For example, platforms like YouTube and Instagram are full of videos where creators talk about their cultures in English, so they can reach a broader audience. This way, someone in the US can learn about Diwali from an Indian creator, or someone in France can explore Japanese traditions through an English-speaking vlogger. English isn't just connecting people, it's breaking down cultural barriers. And memes are a great example of this. A meme that starts in English can quickly spread worldwide, and people from all over adapt it to their local context. It's like a shared global language for humor and creativity. What do you think about memes and trends, Ryan?
Oh, memes are a fantastic example, Priya. They're one of the best ways English is used to bridge gaps. Think about something as simple as the distracted boyfriend meme, or the how it started versus how it's going trend. These started in English but were understood and recreated by people all over the world, regardless of their native language. The humor and meaning are universal, but English often provides the foundation for the message. And the same goes for hashtags. They're another powerful tool for connection. A hashtag in English, like Motivation Monday or Travel Goals, can reach millions of people across cultures because English has become the language of shared trends. It's amazing how something as small as a hashtag can bring together people from completely different backgrounds, don't you think?
Definitely, Ryan. And hashtags also make it easier for people to find content and connect around shared interests. For instance, hashtags like #fitness tips or #learning English create global communities where people can share advice, tips, and encouragement. You'll find posts from someone in South Korea, South Africa, or South America, all contributing to the same conversation because they're using English. Even influencers and brands know this. Many of them use English captions, even if their audience includes people from non-English speaking countries, because they want to connect with as many people as possible. But Ryan, what about platforms like LinkedIn? English seems to play a slightly different role there, right?
That's true, Priya. LinkedIn is a perfect example of how English isn't just a tool for casual communication, it's also the language of professional networking. Companies and job seekers from all over the world use LinkedIn to build connections, and almost all the interactions happen in English. A recruiter in India might post a job listing in English to attract candidates from Europe, Africa, or North America. Similarly, A professional in Brazil might write an article in English on LinkedIn to share their expertise with an international audience. This creates endless opportunities for collaboration. And Priya, don't you think this ties back to the idea that English is no longer tied to specific countries? It's truly global now.
Exactly, Ryan. English has evolved beyond being the language of native speakers. It's now a global tool for communication. And social media is the ultimate proof of that. Whether you're watching a TikTok dance from someone in Thailand, following a Twitter thread about tech trends from Silicon Valley, or reading Instagram captions from a travel influencer in Greece, English is the common thread. And what's really exciting is that you don't have to be perfect at it to participate. Even with basic English skills, people can connect, share ideas, and be part of the global conversation. And Ryan, for those who want to improve their English, social media is actually a fantastic way to practice, don't you think?
Absolutely, Priya. Social media makes learning English fun and interactive. You can follow influencers, watch videos, or read posts, all in real-life, conversational English. Plus, you can interact in the comments or even join discussions on platforms like Twitter or Reddit. These are great ways to improve your skills while also connecting with people worldwide. And the best part? You're not just learning a language, you're becoming part of a global community. And now we're moving into another critical area where English plays a huge role: e-learning and online education. Priya, it's incredible to see how the internet has transformed the way we learn. With just a smartphone or computer, anyone can take courses, watch tutorials, or even get certified, and the majority of these resources are in English. What do you think makes English so dominant in the world of online education?
Great question, Ryan. I think it comes down to the fact that English is already the language of academia and technology. When you think about online platforms like Coursera, edX, or Khan Academy, they're designed to reach a global audience. English is the language most people have in common, so it becomes the default for delivering courses. Even on YouTube, one of the most popular platforms for free learning, the majority of educational content is in English. For example, you can find tutorials on just about anything: coding, art, science experiments, or even how to build a business, all in English. This gives learners around the world access to high-quality education that they wouldn't have otherwise. And Ryan, I think this ties back to something we discussed earlier: how English enables people to connect with global trends and knowledge. Would you agree?
Absolutely, Priya. It's a continuation of what we talked about in the last segment: how English creates opportunities for connection. In the case of e-learning, it's about connecting people to information and skills that can change their lives. Let's take an example. Someone in a small town in Kenya or the Philippines might not have access to a local university offering courses in artificial intelligence. But with platforms like Coursera or Udemy, they can enroll in an AI course taught by a professor at Stanford, and it's all in English. That's the power of online education in today's world. In fact, Priya, did you know that over 90% of MOOCs, massive open online courses, are offered in English? That's platforms like Coursera and edX that provide free or affordable education to millions of people worldwide. This just shows how English opens doors to global knowledge. Priya, do you think this has an impact on professional growth as well?
Definitely, Ryan. Learning through English-based platforms isn't just about gaining knowledge. It's about gaining skills that can lead to better opportunities. For example, many technical certifications, like Google's IT Support Professional Certificate or AWS Cloud certifications, are available in English. These certifications can make someone job-ready in a matter of months. And it's not just tech. Courses in fields like marketing, finance, graphic design, or healthcare are also widely available in English. Even when it comes to higher education, English is the key. Many international universities now offer online degree programs, and most of them are taught in English. This means that someone in Brazil, for instance, can earn a master's degree from a university in the UK without ever leaving home. Ryan, how do you think this affects global competition in the job market?
Great question, Priya. I think it levels the playing field in many ways. By learning in English, people from any part of the world can gain the same skills and qualifications as someone in a developed country. For example, a web developer in India or Nigeria can take the same coding courses on platforms like Codecademy or Udemy as someone in the US. This gives them a competitive edge in the global job market. And employers value this. They know that someone who can learn in English and apply those skills is ready to work in international teams. That's especially true for industries like tech, finance, or even creative fields like content creation. Priya, don't you think platforms like YouTube also play a big role in informal learning?
Absolutely, Ryan. YouTube is like the ultimate open classroom. You can find tutorials on everything from mastering Excel to learning how to play the guitar. And most of these are in English. It's free, it's accessible, and it's available 24/7. And what's interesting is that many of the creators aren't even native English speakers. For example, a chef in Italy might upload cooking tutorials in English to reach a global audience. This shows that English isn't just a tool for formal education. It's also key for sharing practical skills and connecting with a worldwide community of learners. And it's not just YouTube. Apps like Duolingo, which helps people learn languages, or Skillshare, which offers creative courses, are also heavily based in English. Ryan, how do you see this trend shaping the future of education?
I think it's only going to grow, Priya. The more the world goes digital, the more people will rely on online education to gain new skills and stay competitive. And English will remain at the center of this because it's already established as the global language of learning. But it's not just about individual learners. Even schools and universities in non-English speaking countries are integrating English into their curriculums because they understand its value in the digital age. For example, many universities in Europe and Asia offer degree programs entirely in English to attract international students. And on a personal level, anyone listening to this podcast right now is taking a step in the right direction, learning English through listening, which is one of the best ways to improve. Priya, do you think English's dominance in e-learning creates challenges as well as opportunities?
That's a great point, Ryan. Yes, there are challenges. For non-native speakers, it can feel intimidating to take courses or consume content in English, especially if they're just starting to learn the language. But the good news is that many platforms are trying to make it easier. For example, YouTube offers subtitles in multiple languages, and apps like Duolingo help people build foundational English skills. I also think it's important to remember that you don't need to be fluent to benefit from English-based learning. Even basic English skills can open the door to so much information. And as you practice, you get better over time. It's all about taking that first step. Ryan, do you have any advice for our listeners who might feel overwhelmed by the idea of learning in English?
Absolutely, Priya. My advice would be to start small and be consistent. For example, you could watch short YouTube videos on topics you enjoy, like cooking, gaming, or DIY projects, and turn on the subtitles. This helps you improve your vocabulary while learning something fun. Another tip is to use language learning apps like Duolingo or Babbel to strengthen your grammar and basic skills. And finally, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Whether you're writing an email in English, joining a discussion forum, or watching an online tutorial, every step you take helps you improve. Remember, English is a skill, and like any skill, the more you practice, the better you'll get. Now let's talk about an area where English plays a crucial role: online business and marketing. Whether you're shopping online, freelancing, or running a company, English is the dominant language of the digital marketplace. Think about it. Most e-commerce platforms, from Amazon to Alibaba, use English as their primary language to reach a global audience. Priya, why do you think English has become so central to online business?
That's such a great question, Ryan. I think the dominance of English in online business stems from its role as a global language. Businesses want to sell to the largest audience possible, and using English ensures they can reach customers around the world. For example, if a small company in Thailand wants to sell products internationally on Amazon, it has to list those products in English to connect with buyers in the US, Europe, or Australia. And it's not just about e-commerce. Platforms like Fiverr, Upwork, or Freelancer, which connect clients and freelancers from different countries, also rely heavily on English. A graphic designer in Indonesia might work with a client in Canada, and English is the bridge that makes that possible. Ryan, do you think this trend is only growing as more businesses move online?
Absolutely, Priya. As the world becomes more digital, English is becoming even more important for businesses. Multinational companies use English as their primary language for advertising, customer service, and even internal operations. Think about global brands like Coca-Cola, Nike, or Apple. Their websites, marketing campaigns, and customer support systems are almost always in English first, and then translated into other languages. This ensures consistency in their messaging across markets. For example, a company might launch a campaign with a tagline like, "Just do it" in English, and then adapt it for local languages. But English remains the core. Priya, do you have any examples of how this works in practice?
Definitely, Ryan. Let's take customer service as an example. Many companies have English-speaking customer support teams to handle inquiries from all over the world. Whether you're booking a flight on Expedia or shopping on ASOS, chances are that the live chat or email support is available in English, even if the company operates in multiple countries. This makes it easier to communicate with customers and solve problems quickly. Another example is international advertising. Many companies run their digital ad campaigns on platforms like Google or Facebook in English because it allows them to target a broader audience. Even local businesses, like a hotel in Bali or a restaurant in Paris, often create English language ads to attract tourists. Ryan, how do you see English playing a role in online negotiations and partnerships?
That's a great point, Priya. English is absolutely essential for online negotiations and partnerships. In today's global economy, businesses often collaborate across borders, and English is the common language they use to communicate. For example, if a startup in Brazil wants to partner with a supplier in China, their negotiations will almost always happen in English, even if neither party speaks it as their first language. Platforms like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Slack are widely used for these virtual meetings, and English becomes the default language. Even when contracts or agreements are signed, they're often written in English to avoid confusion. It's incredible how English simplifies these interactions, making it easier for businesses to work together no matter where they're located. Priya, do you think this also applies to small businesses and freelancers?
Absolutely, Ryan. English isn't just for big corporations. It's equally important for small businesses and freelancers. Let's say a freelance writer in Pakistan is working on a project for a client in the US. They'll use English to communicate, deliver the work, and even get paid through platforms like PayPal or Stripe. Similarly, small businesses that sell handmade products on Etsy or Shopify often write their product descriptions in English to attract international buyers. Even social media marketing for these businesses is often done in English because it increases their reach. And it's not just about selling products or services, it's about building relationships. Whether you're responding to customer reviews, negotiating prices, or collaborating on creative projects, English makes it all possible. Ryan, don't you think English also helps businesses stay competitive in the global market?
Absolutely, Priya. In fact, I'd say that businesses that can communicate in English have a significant advantage. Take e-commerce giants like Amazon, for example. Their platform allows sellers from all over the world to list products, but the most successful sellers often have well-written English descriptions and customer reviews. This creates trust and makes it easier for buyers to understand the product. Even beyond e-commerce, English is critical for staying updated on market trends. For instance, most business research, financial reports, and industry white papers are published in English. A business owner in Germany, for example, might read an article in English about the latest trends in digital marketing and apply those insights to grow their company. Priya, how do you think learning English can help individuals who want to start or grow their own businesses?
It's a game changer, Ryan. For entrepreneurs and freelancers, learning English opens up a world of possibilities. It allows them to access tools, resources, and communities that can help them grow. For example, they can take online courses in English to learn skills like social media marketing, web design, or copywriting, skills that are in high demand. They can also join global networking events or forums where they can connect with other entrepreneurs and potential clients. And let's not forget about branding. A business owner who knows English can create a professional-looking website with content that appeals to an international audience. This not only increases their credibility, but also helps them stand out in a crowded market. Ryan, do you have any advice for listeners who want to use English to grow their businesses?
Great question, Priya. My advice would be to start by improving your written and spoken English, especially for professional communication. Practice writing emails, product descriptions, or even social media posts in English. There are also tools like Grammarly that can help you polish your writing. For speaking, try joining webinars, networking events, or even online forums where you can practice interacting in English. And if you're running a business, focus on creating a strong online presence. Use English to write clear, engaging content for your website or social media pages. Remember, English isn't just a language. It's a tool for connecting with customers and collaborators worldwide. All right, Priya, I think this wraps up our discussion on online business and marketing. So far, we've explored how English drives e-learning, social media, and online business. But there's one area where English is absolutely critical: technology and programming. Priya, it's no exaggeration to say that English is the backbone of the tech world. From programming languages to technical documentation, English is everywhere. Whether you're coding an app, troubleshooting a bug, or building AI software, chances are you're doing it in English. Priya, why do you think English is so dominant in tech?
That's a great question, Ryan. I think it's partly historical and partly practical. Historically, many of the pioneers of technology and computer science came from English-speaking countries like the US and the UK. As a result, the foundational programming languages like C, Python, and Java were designed using English words and syntax. For example, commands like if, else, while, and print are all in English. Over time, this became the standard, and now most programming languages use English as their base. Practically speaking, English makes it easier for tech professionals around the world to communicate and collaborate. Imagine a developer in Germany working with a team in India. They might not share the same native language, but they can both understand the English-based code. Ryan, don't you think this gives English an edge in the tech industry?
Absolutely, Priya. English has become the universal language of technology, and it's not just about programming languages. Take tech documentation, for example. Most of the guides, tutorials, and manuals for software development are written in English. Whether you're learning how to use a new framework like React or trying to understand a library in Python, the official documentation is almost always in English. This means that if you're a tech professional, or even just starting out in programming, having a good command of English isn't optional, it's essential. And it's not just documentation. Forums like Stack Overflow, where millions of developers go to ask questions and solve problems, are also predominantly in English. Priya, have you seen how this plays out in areas like artificial intelligence and app development?
Definitely, Ryan. AI, apps, and software development are great examples of how closely English is tied to innovation in technology. Let's start with artificial intelligence, or AI. The leading AI research papers, models, and tools are all in English. Take OpenAI's GPT model, for instance. It was trained primarily using English language data. This means that most of the innovation in AI is happening in English. And anyone working in this field needs to understand the language to stay updated. The same goes for app development. When developers create apps, they often write their code and documentation in English because they know their apps might be used by people all over the world. Even the app stores, like Apple's App Store or Google Play, require app descriptions in English to reach a global audience. Ryan, How do you think this affects tech professionals who don't speak English as their first language?
It's definitely a challenge, Priya, but it's also a huge opportunity. For non-native English speakers, learning English can feel like an extra step in their tech career, but it's a step that opens so many doors. For example, a software engineer in Brazil or Vietnam who knows English can access the same resources, tools, and communities as someone in Silicon Valley. They can read the latest research, contribute to open-source projects, and even collaborate with teams from different countries. And as you mentioned, Priya, platforms like Stack Overflow or GitHub are in English. So being able to navigate these spaces is essential for solving problems and sharing ideas. I'd say English isn't just a language for tech professionals, it's a career tool. Priya, do you have any tips for people who want to improve their English for tech?
Great question, Ryan. For tech professionals, improving English skills starts with immersing yourself in the language as it relates to your field. Start by reading technical blogs, tutorials, and documentation in English. Websites like Medium and DevDot have tons of articles written by developers, and they're a great way to learn how professionals use English in a tech context. Another tip is to participate in online forums like Stack Overflow or Reddit's programming communities. Even if you're just reading discussions at first, you'll get used to the terminology and how people communicate in English. Finally, practice writing your own code comments, documentation, or GitHub README files in English. This not only helps you learn the language, but also prepares you for working on international teams. Ryan, don't you think the connection between English and technology is only going to grow stronger in the future?
Without a doubt, Priya. The tech industry is becoming more global every day, and English will continue to be the common language that ties it all together. Think about how quickly new technologies like AI, blockchain, and cloud computing are evolving. Staying competitive in these fields means constantly learning new tools and techniques, and the vast majority of these resources are in English. For example, if you want to take a course on machine learning, platforms like Coursera or Udemy offer hundreds of courses, but most of them are in English. The same goes for conferences, webinars, and certification programs. Whether you're studying cybersecurity, data science, or app development, English is the key to accessing the best knowledge and opportunities. Priya, how do you think this impacts the future of innovation?
It's huge, Ryan. English is fueling innovation by creating a shared platform for collaboration. When developers and researchers from different countries can communicate in the same language, they're able to share ideas and solve problems faster. For instance, open-source projects like Linux or TensorFlow bring together contributors from all over the world, and they're all working in English. This kind of collaboration drives progress and ensures that everyone, no matter where they're from, can contribute to the future of technology. And as technology becomes even more integrated into our daily lives, the demand for professionals who can work in English will only increase. Whether it's building apps, designing software, or training AI models, English is the language that makes it all possible. All right, Ryan, I think this is a good place to wrap up this segment.
Thanks, Priya. So far, we've talked about how English powers technology, programming, and online business. Now let's shift gears and explore how English is shaping the world of content creation and digital media. Priya, these days, content creators, whether they're bloggers, vloggers, or podcasters, aren't just connecting with their local audience. They're reaching people all over the world, and English is often the key to expanding that reach. Why do you think so many creators choose to use English?
That's a great question, Ryan. I think it comes down to one simple fact. English helps creators connect with a global audience. Whether someone is starting a blog, a YouTube channel, or a podcast, creating content in English instantly makes it accessible to millions, even billions, of people. For example, a travel vlogger from Spain who shares their videos in English can reach viewers in the US, India, Australia, and beyond. The same goes for bloggers. If you write a blog about fitness tips or personal development in English, your potential audience is much larger than if you were writing in just your native language. And when you think about platforms like YouTube or Spotify, where the majority of trending content is in English, it makes sense for creators to use the language to maximize their visibility. Ryan, Do you think this trend is growing as digital media becomes more global?
Absolutely, Priya. Digital media is more global than ever, and English is at the center of it all. Platforms like YouTube, for example, have creators from every country, but the most successful ones often use English to connect with their viewers. Take Mr. Beast, for instance, one of the biggest YouTubers in the world. His videos are in English, and while his primary audience is in the US, his content is watched by people in dozens of countries. This is the same for bloggers and podcasters. Many of the most popular blogs, whether they're about technology, lifestyle, or business, are written in English because it's the language that most people can understand. And for podcasters, English is a no-brainer if they want to reach listeners on global platforms like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Priya, do you think English also helps creators monetize their content?
Definitely, Ryan. Monetizing content is a big reason why creators use English. Platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok all offer monetization programs, and English content tends to perform better in terms of views, likes, and engagement because it has a wider reach. For example, a vlogger who creates videos in English can attract viewers from multiple countries, which increases their ad revenue. The same goes for sponsorship deals. Brands are more likely to partner with creators who produce English content because they know it'll reach a broader audience. Even bloggers who monetize through affiliate marketing can earn more by writing in English. If they're recommending products on Amazon, for example, they can link to the global marketplace rather than a local one. Ryan, have you noticed how English also influences trends and formats in digital media?
Absolutely, Priya. English is often the starting point for trends and formats that go viral. For example, challenges like the Ice Bucket Challenge or viral phrases like "What's in my bag" all started in English and then spread to creators in other languages. This shows how influential English is in setting the tone for global content creation. Even memes, hashtags, and video formats on platforms like Instagram and TikTok are often in English. Creators around the world adopt these trends because they know English makes their content more relatable to a wider audience. And it's not just about following trends, it's about creating them too. Priya, don't you think English gives creators more opportunities to collaborate internationally?
Exactly, Ryan. English is the bridge that allows creators from different countries to work together. Let's say a beauty vlogger from France wants to collaborate with a makeup artist in South Korea. They might film a video together in English because it allows them to reach both of their audiences at the same time. The same goes for podcasts. Many podcast hosts invite guests from other countries, and English becomes the common language for their discussions. These collaborations not only help creators grow their audiences, but also bring fresh perspectives to their content. And let's not forget about global platforms like Patreon or Substack, where creators can earn directly from their fans. These platforms are designed for international audiences, and English is usually the preferred language for posts, updates, and rewards. Ryan, do you think this accessibility to global platforms is reshaping content creation?
Absolutely, Priya. Global platforms like Patreon, YouTube, or even Twitch have made it easier than ever for creators to earn a living, and English plays a big role in that. By creating content in English, a blogger or a vlogger can attract subscribers or patrons from around the world. For example, a fitness coach might create workout videos on YouTube in English and then offer personalized coaching through Patreon. Because they're using English, they can attract fans from Asia, Europe, and the Americas, which boosts their earning potential. Even creators on TikTok or Instagram can sell merchandise or offer courses to their followers, all because English helps them connect globally. Priya, any final thoughts on how English is shaping digital media for creators?
I'd say that English is more than just a language for content creators. It's a tool for growth and connection. Whether you're starting a blog, launching a podcast, or making YouTube videos, English helps you share your ideas with the world. It's not about being perfect either. Many creators aren't native English speakers, but they use the language confidently to communicate their message. And that's the key: confidence. If you're a listener who's interested in creating content, don't let language hold you back. Start small, practice using English in your content, and you'll see how it helps you reach new audiences and open new opportunities. All right, Ryan, what's coming up next?
So far, we've talked about how English helps content creators connect with global audiences and monetize their work. Now let's turn our attention to another exciting area where English plays a major role: remote work and digital nomadism. Priya, in today's world, more and more people are working remotely, whether it's freelancing, consulting, or being part of international teams. And English is often the common language that makes this possible. What do you think makes English so important for remote work?
That's a great question, Ryan. I think the main reason is that English allows professionals to work with clients and teams from all over the world. Let's say a graphic designer in Argentina wants to work with a startup in Canada. They're likely to communicate in English. This is especially true for freelancing platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, or TopTal, where clients and freelancers are matched across borders. Most job postings and profiles on these platforms are written in English because it's the language that the majority of users understand. If a freelancer can communicate effectively in English, it significantly increases their chances of landing clients and growing their business. Ryan, have you noticed how English also plays a role in remote team collaboration?
Absolutely, Priya. Remote teams rely heavily on collaboration tools like Zoom, Slack, and Microsoft Teams, and English is usually the default language for communication. For example, imagine a software development team with members in India, Germany, and the US. They're likely to hold their meetings in English, write their Slack messages in English, and document their project updates in English so everyone is on the same page. Even for tools like Trello or Asana, which are used for project management, the user interfaces and instructions are mostly in English. This makes it easier for remote workers to collaborate efficiently, no matter where they're located. Priya, do you think this is also why English is so important for digital nomads?
Definitely, Ryan. For digital nomads, people who work remotely while traveling, English is almost like a survival skill. Imagine someone who's working as a copywriter or virtual assistant while traveling through Southeast Asia or Europe. They're likely working with clients from various countries, so English becomes their primary language for communication. Even when they're not working, digital nomads use English to navigate daily life, whether it's booking accommodation, connecting with other travelers, or finding co-working spaces. In fact, many co-working spaces around the world cater specifically to English-speaking remote workers. This shows just how central English is to the digital nomad lifestyle. Ryan, how do you think English helps remote workers stand out on freelancing platforms?
Great question, Priya. I'd say that having strong English skills gives freelancers a big competitive edge. When clients post jobs on platforms like Upwork or Fiverr, they're often looking for someone who can communicate clearly and professionally in English. Even if the job itself doesn't involve a lot of writing, being able to discuss project details, negotiate terms, and deliver updates in English builds trust with clients. For example, a web developer who can write a polished proposal in English is more likely to win a project than someone who struggles to communicate. And it's not just about landing jobs. English also helps freelancers maintain long-term relationships with their clients, which can lead to repeat work and referrals. Priya, do you think this is why so many freelancers invest in improving their English skills?
Absolutely, Ryan. Freelancers and remote workers know that improving their English can open up more opportunities. It's not just about speaking fluently. It's about being able to write professional emails, create detailed project proposals, and even market themselves effectively. For example, a freelancer who creates an Upwork profile in clear, well-written English is more likely to attract high-paying clients. And let's not forget about testimonials and reviews. When clients leave feedback in English, freelancers can showcase those reviews to future clients, which helps them stand out in a crowded marketplace. For digital nomads, English is equally important for building connections. Whether they're networking at a co-working space in Bali or attending a digital nomad meetup in Lisbon, English is often the common language that brings people together. Ryan, how do you see English shaping the future of remote work?
I think it's already shaping the future in a big way, Priya. As remote work becomes more common, companies are increasingly hiring talent from around the world, and English is the language that makes this possible. Take global companies like Shopify or GitLab, for example. They operate entirely remotely, with employees spread across dozens of countries, and their official working language is English. This means that whether you're a developer in Poland or a marketer in South Africa, being able to communicate in English is essential for being part of these international teams. Even smaller companies that are going remote are looking for employees who can collaborate in English. Priya, do you have any advice for listeners who want to improve their English for remote work?
Great question, Ryan. My first piece of advice is to focus on practical skills. Start by improving your ability to write emails, proposals, and chat messages in English. These are the kinds of communication you'll use most in remote work. You can practice by joining online communities like LinkedIn groups or freelancing forums, where you can interact with other professionals in English. My second tip is to get comfortable with tools like Zoom or Slack, since these are widely used for remote work. Practice introducing yourself and speaking confidently in English during virtual meetings. Finally, consider taking online courses or watching YouTube videos on professional English communication. Platforms like Coursera or Udemy have great resources for this. Remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just need to be clear and professional. Ryan, what would you say to someone who's thinking about becoming a digital nomad?
I'd say go for it, but make English your superpower. As a digital nomad, your ability to communicate in English will be one of your greatest assets. It'll help you land remote jobs, connect with clients, and build a network of like-minded professionals. Plus, it makes traveling easier. You'll find that English is widely spoken in most tourist destinations, which makes it easier to navigate new places. My advice? Start small. Take a remote job or freelance gig that lets you practice your English skills and then gradually build your confidence. Whether you're a writer, designer, or virtual assistant, English opens up so many opportunities for remote work and digital nomadism. All right, Priya, I think we've covered a lot in this segment. As we wrap up today's episode, let's talk about something that's crucial for many of our listeners: the challenges and opportunities of learning English for the digital world. Priya, while we've talked a lot about how English opens up doors to e-learning, remote work, and global communication, the reality is that learning and using English isn't always easy, especially for non-native speakers. What are some of the common challenges you think people face?
That's a great question, Ryan. One of the biggest challenges non-native speakers face is feeling overwhelmed by the sheer amount of online content in English. Whether it's reading technical documentation, watching YouTube tutorials, or understanding fast-paced conversations in podcasts, it can be intimidating if your English skills are still developing. Another challenge is confidence. Many learners worry about making mistakes, especially when speaking or writing in English, which can hold them back from participating in discussions or applying for jobs. And then there's the issue of vocabulary. Technical fields like programming or business often use specialized terms that aren't part of everyday English. Ryan, have you noticed how these challenges show up in digital spaces like freelancing platforms or online communities?
Absolutely, Priya. On freelancing platforms like Upwork or Fiverr, for example, non-native speakers might struggle to write compelling proposals or communicate clearly with clients. This can make it harder to compete with freelancers who are fluent in English. Similarly, in online communities like Reddit or Stack Overflow, learners might feel hesitant to ask questions or share their opinions because they're worried about their grammar or phrasing. But here's the thing. These challenges are completely normal, and they're also opportunities to grow. Learning English isn't something that happens overnight. It's a journey, and the good news is that there are so many digital tools available today to help people improve their English skills. Priya, do you have any favorite tools or strategies for learners?
Definitely, Ryan. One of the best things about the digital age is that you can learn English anytime, anywhere. For beginners, apps like Duolingo are great for building foundational vocabulary and grammar. It's fun, gamified, and you can practice for just 10 minutes a day. For more advanced learners, tools like Grammarly are incredibly helpful for improving writing skills. Grammarly not only corrects your mistakes, but also explains why they're wrong, which helps you learn as you go. If you want to work on your listening and speaking skills, I highly recommend listening to English podcasts, like this one, or watching YouTube videos with subtitles. You can start with topics you're passionate about, like cooking, fitness, or technology, to make the process more enjoyable. Ryan, what other strategies would you suggest?
Those are great suggestions, Priya. I'd add that learners should focus on consistent practice. For example, if you want to improve your speaking skills, try apps like HelloTalk or Tandem, where you can connect with native speakers for language exchange. It's a great way to practice conversational English in a low-pressure environment. Another tip is to immerse yourself in English by changing the language settings on your devices, like your phone or social media apps, to English. This forces you to engage with the language in your daily life. And let's not forget about online courses. Platforms like Coursera and Udemy offer English courses specifically designed for professionals, such as Business English or English for IT. Priya, do you think these tools make the process less intimidating for learners?
Absolutely, Ryan. Digital tools make learning English more accessible and less intimidating. The key is to start small and celebrate progress. For example, if you've been hesitant to post in English on LinkedIn, try writing just a short post to practice. Or if you're learning vocabulary, set a goal to learn 5 new words a day using an app like Anki for flashcards. The important thing is to focus on progress, not perfection. And as you build your skills, you'll notice the long-term benefits. Ryan, let's talk about those. Why is learning English such a valuable investment for the digital world?
That's a great point, Priya. Learning English is more than just a skill. It's an investment in your future. First, it gives you access to a world of opportunities. Whether it's landing a remote job, taking an online course, or starting a global business, English is often the key to making it happen. Second, it boosts your confidence. When you can communicate in English, you feel more empowered to participate in global conversations, whether that's in a professional setting or on social media. And finally, it's a lifelong skill. The digital world is only going to get more interconnected, and knowing English ensures that you stay competitive and connected, no matter where technology takes us. Priya, any final advice for our listeners?
My advice is simple. Don't let the challenges of learning English hold you back. Use the tools we've talked about today, practice regularly, and be patient with yourself. Remember, every small step you take brings you closer to your goal. And most importantly, enjoy the process. Learning English isn't just about grammar or vocabulary. It's about opening doors to new opportunities and experiences. Ryan, should we wrap things up?
Let's do it, Priya. To all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this episode of Speak Up. Today, we explored the role of English in the digital world, from e-learning and social media to freelancing and remote work. We've talked about the challenges non-native speakers face, but we've also highlighted the incredible opportunities that come with learning English. No matter where you are on your journey, remember that improving your English is one of the best investments you can make for the digital age. Stay consistent, stay curious, and keep practicing. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.